Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Shannon. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Today I'm bringing you some books that I am intimidated by. This is books that I have on my shelf that still intimidate the shit out of me even though I already bought them. So without further ado, let's just get into some of these books and I'll tell you why I'm scared of them, essentially. The first book I have here is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and the reason this intimidates me is because I've heard mixed things about it. I feel like I've either heard really good things or really bad things, but I also know that this follows like a secret society. I believe we follow the main character Alex, who is a freshman at Yale, and she discovers that Yale has a secret society and she gets tasked with finding out what this society is and does, and supposedly there is magic and raising the dead involved in this book. That is pretty much all I know. I bought this when it first came out and didn't really think it through. I just read the synopsis and immediately wanted to know what this book was about. But the more that the reviews trickled in and the more I heard about it, I felt like I was a little bit maybe trigger happy and buying this straight away. I do think that I'll enjoy it once I get to it, but I also think because it's maybe not exactly what I thought it was, I'm just intimidated that I'm not gonna like it. And it's not even that short of a book, and I know this is book one in a series. I think it's like 500 pages, and that doesn't, big books don't necessarily bother me, but big books that are the start of series that I have heard mixed things about and that I know people either love or hate kind of intimidate me because I don't know where I'm gonna fall on the spectrum. And also I'm just intimidated by Leigh Bardugo as an author because I own the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I have obviously heard about Leigh Bardugo for so long. I bought this, geez, like 5 years ago, and I still haven't read it. And the reason that I haven't read this trilogy is because of the hype that it gets. I know a lot of people absolutely adored this when it first came out on booktube. It was really hyped. So when I first started watching booktube, I heard about this all the time and felt like I really wanted to read it, but then I bought it and it it did not shit on my shelves, just so you know. It sat on my shelves for so long, and then I watched the Netflix adaptation, and then I was a little bit more worried that I was going to go into the trilogy and not like it simply because I really like the TV show and what they've done with the TV show. So now, not only am I intimidated because it's got so much hype, I'm intimidated by my own fault, really, because I went into the TV show before actually reading the books, and now I'm worried that I'm not going to enjoy the books as much, and that kind of sucks. I probably should have waited to watch the TV show before, like, I probably should have waited to watch the TV show until after I read the books, because I own them. I've owned them for like 5 years, maybe even 6 now. I should have read these, but I haven't. And now I'm just worried that they're not going to live up to what I'm hoping they are. I do know that the Six of Crows duology, which I also own, has been hyped more. I feel like people love the Six of Crows duology more than the Shadow and Bone trilogy, but I know that you have to read the Shadow and Bone trilogy to get full enjoyment out of the Six of Crows duology. So now I'm like, there's even more pressure because there's like so much hype, and I just need to know why these books are hyped. But at the same time, I'm just so intimidated because I'm worried I'm not going to like them, and I'm worried that they're not going to live up to what I have in my head. And if you have not watched the Netflix adaptation, I highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it. But maybe I can do like a reading vlog for Shadow and Bone and tell you how I feel as I read them, because I think I'm going to be comparing it to the show now, which is unfortunate because I don't really want to do that. But because I've been stupid and not read these before I watched the show, I'm obviously going to compare them. So maybe I'll do like a vlog and you can see how I feel as I read this series. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in that, and I will get that out to you as soon as humanly possible. The next book I have here is Mistborn, The Final Empire. Now, This is something that I just recently bought. Oh, shocker, I broke my reading ban again. Are you shocked? Please don't be shocked. If you're shocked, then you obviously haven't watched enough of my videos to know that I'm an impulse buyer. And I also shop for books when I need a little pick-me-up, which probably isn't the best thing, because then I just spend money when I don't need to spend money. But the way that I think of it is my money could be going on a lot worse things than books, so I'm not mad at myself, I think. Either way, I really want to read this. Obviously, Brandon Sanderson has dropped his secret project, and I am blown away by this man and his talent of writing, and the fact that he wrote 4 books in 2 years, and I can't even finish a first draft. Like, well done. Brandon Sanderson is the king of writing, and I need to know why. All of his books are critically acclaimed, and I've heard nothing but good things. I just want to dive into this world and see what all the hype is about, but also I'm intimidated because they're quite chunky books. Also, the flop level on this book is just fantastic, so like, yay. But they're all pretty big books, and I know they're high epic fantasy, which I am excited to dive into, but I feel like my reading tastes are changing. I used to read a lot of YA fantasy, and now I'm kind of trying to edge into more adult fantasy, but because I have not read a lot of it, it's intimidating, and I feel like that's okay. I'm only going to be less intimidated the more I read, and one place that I want to start is definitely with Brandon Sanderson. I done so much research to see where to start with his work, and the best answer I could come up with is The Final Empire. So I believe it's Daniel Green that's on YouTube. Thank you so very much, because you made this decision a lot easier than what I thought it was going to be. But also at the same time, I am really scared that 1, I'm not going to like this. 2, it's going to be a change because it's high epic fantasy and adult. So it's kind of like I'm intimidated, but I'm excited at the same time, and I do plan to get to this fairly soon because I want to get to it while my excitement's still high, because then it'll give me momentum to get through this series, or at least start this series. And I'm not even meant to be starting series at the moment. I'm meant to be finishing series I've already started, and that video will be somewhere if it's already up, or it will be coming soon. I just want to like focus on like finishing some of the series that I own, but I also just want to start all the new series that sound amazing. So like it's a conundrum, but I'm probably just going to start more series and hopefully finish the ones that I'm already reading soon enough. The next book is A Little Life by Hannah Yanakahara, and the reason this intimidates me is because I know this book is emotional as shit. Like, I have watched people bawl their eyes out at this book, and I just don't think I'm ready for it. If you're not subscribed to my channel, which you should be, come on. No, don't subscribe if you don't want to, but if you do want to, there's a button down there. You may as well click it. I put this on a TBR and completely totally failed and did not pick it up. And I think personally it was because of where my headspace was, and I didn't know if I was ready for such an emotional book. But also this book is gigantic. Like, how many pages is this? Like, Jesus, like 720 pages with the teeniest tiniest font ever. So yes, it's a big book. Yes, it has small font, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I would rather have a bigger book with bigger font. I also know that this is critically acclaimed as well. It has won so many awards. Shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2015, shortlisted for the Bailey's Women's Prize for Fiction in 2016, shortlisted for the US National Book Awards 2015, winner of the British Book Industry Award for Fiction in 2016, and I believe it has been a Goodreads winner quite a lot as well. And I want to love it so much, and I think I will love it, but I'm also very hesitant that it's going to break me, and I just don't know if I'm ready for that emotional breakdown just yet. So I will be getting to this. This is one of the books that's on my 2022 TBR, so I hopefully, and I'm planning to get to this year, and I will probably record me just going through emotional turmoil. I'm a mess all the time, but this is going to be extra messy, just so you know. The next book I have here is actually a book but also an author, and it is It by Stephen King. And if you thought these other books were big, like this book is a monster, and I do really want to read this. I am very excited for it. I did start it and I got to, where did I get to? I got to page 345, so I did get a fair way through this, but I kind of set myself up for failure because I started this in 2019 or 2020, and I started it in January thinking I'm gonna start fresh, it's a new year, it's a new reading year, and I'm going to start with one of the biggest books on my shelf and feel really accomplished at the start of the year. I ended up putting myself in a slump, and I continued to then pick up all the Kindle smut, romance, everything that I could get my hands on, and avoided this book for forever until now. I do want to pick this up, but again, this is not just this book. I am very intimidated by Stephen King. I know his work, everyone knows Stephen King's work, and I think knowing someone's work, especially when they're so like either hyped or hated like Stephen King, I feel like it just adds that extra pressure to like reading his work. I probably shouldn't start with it. I should probably maybe start with, like, I own Carrie, The Shining, and The Outsider, I believe. So I should probably start with one of his easier works, or not so much easier, but shorter, and see how I get along. I think Carrie would be a good place to start, and it probably will be where I start now, instead of trying to, like, be accomplished and read it. I think I should start smaller and work up to this book. But this book in and of itself is very intimidating because it's so big, and I know that Stephen King has a certain kind of writing style, and even though I read 345 pages of this, I did enjoy the writing style. I just feel like to be less intimidated by this author, I need to start with his shorter works and build up to something like this, because this is a chunker and I'm not ready for it. And that was made inherently clear when I tried to read this and totally failed. And lastly, the final book or book series I have on this list, I am not getting it off my shelves because it is way down there, packed in tight. I'm not lying when I say I have no more room on my shelves. My shelves are so packed in tight that trying to get a book from the bottom of my shelf, I have to take off all the books on top just to receive one book. And my Game of Thrones box set is wedged in so tight that I would have to take other books off my shelf in order to get it. So I'm going to pop it on the screen because I'm not doing that. So I am intimidated by this because obviously it's a high epic fantasy. It is Game of Thrones, it is George R.R. Martin, it is widely loved, and I feel like I'm just starting to get into adult fantasy, and I'm just edging my toes into the water of series that really take my interest. And I don't think the best place to start would be Game of Thrones. I think I need to work up to this, just like I said with It, with Stephen King, and The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I think I need to read more, like, I don't know how to explain it. When I say easier adult fantasy, I mean like maybe shorter books or shorter series, ones that aren't so complicated in world, and ones that I have huge amount of interest in, because like Brandon Sanderson has The Cosmere, which I am so excited to get into, and it is an expansive, brilliant, big world, but I feel like I would have an easier time getting into that because I'm very excited and there's so much that I want to learn about the Cosmere. And there is also like standalones and novellas that I can read if I'm struggling. I can find ways to kind of round out my Sanderson. Same with Stephen King. I can round out with his shorter books, and I feel like with George R.R. Martin, it is very much you start you start Game of Thrones and the books get bigger as you go along and everything is just all at once. So I think I need to build up to that because that is a big world and I'm not ready to jump into it just yet. And there is no filler, there's no novellas or shorter books that I could read from George R.R. Martin. There is just this series and that intimidates the hell out of me. So eventually I would like to get to this, but I think I'm going to focus on easier adult fantasies before I dive into this book series, although I would like to get to it someday. And that is it. That is some of the books from my shelves that I am very intimidated by. I wasn't intimidated when I bought any of these books. I think I bought them for a purpose. The purpose was to read them, and I just haven't. And the longer they've sat on my shelves, the more I felt like intimidated by jumping into it. It doesn't help that I've been in a reading slump for like the whole of February. I was in a reading slump. I'm just starting to get out of it now. So I think when I look at these, I think, God, like if I pick that up, am I going to end up in a reading slump again? Or like, is it going to just knock me off? I'm doing good at the moment. I'm doing fairly good at the moment. So yeah, like I think I want to read these, but I need to time it well with my reading and how I'm feeling about things. I definitely have old and new additions to this list. Not all of them are intimidating because they're big books. Some are intimidated because they're so hyped, and some are just authors that have such a big catalogue of work that it is very hard to jump in and find your footing. But I definitely want to, and I think that I will probably vlog some of these and take you along with me on my journey to see how I get on with adult fantasy, or how I get on with the Shadow and Bone or the Grishaverse world, and just kind of feel my way through it. So if you're interested in any of my thoughts on these books, then stick around. I am very lucky and happy to have you. But apart from that, that is all from me today. Remember to stay safe, happy and healthy, and be your badass self, and I will see you next time. Bye!